In our latest special here at ABC 7 News, we focus on stories that enlighten, captivate, and motivate. In one Maryland city, homeowners fight big business.
I think it's the most absurd idea I've ever heard in my entire life.
In Washington, a businessman fights for the homeless.
When I arrived in America, I have 3 daughters.
While in Virginia, a loving dog fights for her life.
She's sweet, and this is what she loves. Look what she's doing. She's just burying her head right in my arm.
We've launched a new and exciting series here at Channel 7 that focuses on the bigger picture. It's called ABC 7 Stories. And I'm your host, reporter Jay Korff. We know that you want to watch stories that matter, that have depth, that connect you to remarkable people. And these 4 stories fit that bill. Our first story involves something that you would think would bring people together in a DC area community. Let's head to Cumberland, Maryland, where they're trying to breathe some economic life back into that town. But the plan is pitting neighbor against neighbor.
From afar, Cumberland looks like a thriving, picturesque city nestled in western Maryland. But this former industrial center is among the poorest towns in America.
We've faced a downward trajectory for many decades.
It's also sliced in half by Interstate 68. But there's something else deeply dividing this town.
I think it's the most absurd idea I've ever heard in my entire life.
A dozen homeowners are locked in a bitter battle with city leaders over the very future of their neighborhood.
A bomb fell out of the sky and managed to land here on our neighborhood.
It's a cluster of 67 properties just south of I-68. More than a year ago, the city identified this area as ideal for commercial development, claiming this blighted, high-crime community could be transformed into a hub of business activity.
Could be any mix of lodging, dining, retail.
Sean Hirschberger runs the Cumberland Economic Development Corporation. That's the group heading up this revitalization project. Hirschberger believes this undertaking will create jobs, increase the tax base, and spur economic growth.
This administration has decided that we want to try to make a difference.
So his group, with more than $2 million in city funds, is arranging to buy and bulldoze homes to make way for new businesses.
This is ridiculous.
But there's a catch. People like Walter Moore still live here.
Well, this is our house, if you know what I mean.
That's his bride, Mary. They've been married 62 years. All they want now is to savor what years they have left here.
They have no heart. People like us, they treat us like garbage. Get out, you're in our road. We don't want your damn house, we want the land. The land.
It's unfortunate that
Hirschberger says for the most part, the purchasing of properties has been fair and equitable.
It's not for sale.
But a dozen homeowners, part of a coalition called Save Our Homes Alliance, are holding out. Larry and Debbie Darby say they aren't going anywhere.
I don't think the city likes our sign too much.
They hung a huge banner on their home for all interstate travelers to see.
They're trying to bully us. If they make us uncomfortable enough and miserable enough, we're going to go. That's not going to work. We're not going anywhere.
What Debbie Darby is referring to is the state of her surroundings. Redevelopment supporters argue this neighborhood has been an eyesore for years, but it's frankly hard to tell how long these discarded televisions and these decaying armchairs have littered the landscape.
This neighborhood was not an eyesore last year. Yes, there were some rundown houses. It's an eyesore now because they have bought so many properties and just let them sit. And if you look at the house next to me, it looks like a jungle.
Redevelopment supporters also argue crime has plagued Rolling Mill for years, so a new start makes sense.
that neighborhood had the highest concentration of criminal activity in Allegheny County.
He is 100% lying.
Well, according to federal crime stats from 2014, the latest available, Rolling Mill had a higher crime rate than most Cumberland neighborhoods, but not the highest. In fact, the city's police chief agrees, telling ABC7 News that back in 2014, this was not the neighborhood he worried about the most.
Well, I'm a grown man.
And if there's one person who thinks the city's logic for leveling Rolling Mill is flawed, it's Woody Gordon.
You got the wrong guy. I'm not the guy to pick out and say, hey, you need to get out, make us happy, and we'll make you whole. It doesn't work that way. That's what I said. If you want to make me whole, leave me alone.
There's another reason Gordon cannot bear to relocate again. You see, in the 1960s, as a teenager, his family had to move when I-68 cut through town.
This is my second time. So that really pisses me off.
In that case, eminent domain applied because there was a public good associated with building an interstate. This coalition of homeowners is worried that eminent domain will be used again, but so far it has not. We're told what's more likely for Rolling Mill is what some call a build-around. That's where new businesses and old homes coexist side by side as neighbors.
It's my family.
For some, the home is much more than brick and mortar. It's a place where shared memories create the lasting and unbreakable bonds of family. For others, all of Cumberland is the home, and this land represents a chance to improve a struggling city's economic trajectory.
What we're trying to do isn't about me. It's not about this administration. It's not about even the people that are down there. This is about the future of this community.
All Sean Hirschberger wants to do is to sit down with disgruntled homeowners and talk. All Walter Moore wants to do is sit down.
I've sat out here for 2 and 3 hours at a time, and you never see the same thing twice.
And enjoy an ever-changing view he never plans on giving up.
My life depends on this house.
And at last check, several homeowners in that Cumberland neighborhood are still holding out. Coming up next,